Let's go to Yahoo Finance's Jessica Smith, who is standing by for reaction to House Speaker's comments. Jessica, she laid out a little bit of the calendar here, talking about Thursday with the acting DNI coming. Tomorrow's Wednesday. So what is next from here on out?
Well, she says these 6 committees will continue their investigation of President Trump, and they will be under that umbrella now of an impeachment inquiry. Thursday will be a big day as the acting DNI director comes in and has the opportunity, as Speaker Pelosi put it, to break the law and not turn over this whistleblower complaint or turn it over as Congress is requesting. So that will be a big day. Tomorrow, we do expect to get the transcript of the call in question here between President Trump and the Ukrainian president. So we'll be looking for any details in that transcript of what actually happened in this phone call. But if it is as has been reported, the president pressuring the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden, obviously that is going to be a huge issue for lawmakers moving forward in this investigation. As this investigation moves forward, eventually they could get to the articles of impeachment. They just need a simple majority in the House, and then that would go over to the Senate, where they need the 2/3 majority to convict the president there. So we're quite a ways away from that point right now, but this is the first real movement we've seen from Speaker Pelosi making it official that they are launching this impeachment inquiry.
And Jess, it just seems from our vantage point up here in New York, and again, being mostly focused on financial markets and how they react to political news, at the speed with which we went from, another Trump family scandal to, that was really like Friday, right? And now it's Tuesday, and we've got Nancy Pelosi essentially giving up the goose. It's been 2.5 years that she's been hearing calls from members of her caucus to investigate the president more forcefully, and it just sort of happened in 48 hours. Is D.C. in a sense
a big shift?
Yeah, is D.C. in a sense still kind of caught by surprise and stunned with where we are right now?
I think a little bit. They are caught by surprise a little bit with just how blatant these allegations are. It's pretty cut and dry as lawmakers see it. If the president did pressure the president, and if there is evidence of that in the call, if he was pressuring the Ukrainian president to investigate a political rival, I think these even moderate Democrats, maybe some Republicans, can see that that is problematic. And I think that's why it's moving so quickly, is just it's not a really complicated situation that you have to try to work out. If this is as reported, I think lawmakers see it as pretty black and white here. And we did see not just Pelosi, but a group of moderate Democrats who were hesitant up until this point get on board with this. We saw the Senate just not long ago pass a non-binding resolution. It's non-binding, but still saying that the White House should release that whistleblower complaint. Every single senator voted for that. So I think we are seeing some movement here. And again, I think it's just because this situation could be so cut and dry is why we're seeing this move so quickly.
Jessica, the president has tweeted. I can't really say it's a response here. I guess it does get into that. Such an important day at the United Nations. So much work and so much success. And the Democrats purposely had to ruin and demean it with more breaking news, witch hunt garbage. So bad for our country. So talking about the UN, then addressing what we just heard from Nancy Pelosi. And there again, that's from President Trump right now on Twitter. Possibly get more from him through here. You were talking about some of the people that have been coming out, and Melody was talking about this as well, the snowballing that's been happening. And we had just interviewed Alex Azarian, who wrote a book called The Best People. There's so many people that are out of the administration now that were in it, all these acting heads. Is this going to be a time, I've been seeing, Anthony Scaramucci here tweeting, but that some other, will we have, and will that be important to get more people from the other side of the aisle out here, either that are in office or that have been there before?
I think partially, but I wouldn't be surprised to see most of them come out at this point. And a lot of them who have been ousted, of course, they have bitter sentiments. Of course, now they feel like they're emboldened to speak their mind in a way that even perhaps previously during this limbo period, they didn't feel the confidence to do that. So it's so interesting how your sentiment shifts personally and professionally when you feel as though there's enough momentum towards the other person that you can sort of gang up on him. And I mean, just addressing President Trump's tweet, let's also keep in mind his speech at the UN today was very demoralizing and was actually not unifying at all. So even what he's saying in the first part of that tweet is blatantly untrue, that it was such a great, successful day, because he's, yeah, sure, patting the U.S. on the back a little bit, but for the most part, he was just continuing to create animosity and division at a place called the United Nations.
Right.
So I just want to point that out.
So let's go back down to D.C. So, Jess, I guess we know we have that hearing with the acting DNI leader on Thursday. Tomorrow morning, the sun comes up in Washington, D.C. I mean, what happens next from here?
I think, well, we're waiting for that transcript. That is the next big thing that we're watching for. We don't know exactly when the president is going to release that, but he says that is coming. And then these investigations are just going to continue. I think things are going to ramp up. They're going to move quickly. But you have to remember, these committees have been investigating President Trump and his organizations for quite some time. And there has been some disagreement between Democratic leadership of whether they were already in an impeachment inquiry. But now it is official. Politico was reporting that in that closed-door meeting, House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler said that his committee would be making the decision here, and he says he is urging speed in this impeachment process. And they said behind closed doors that they do not want this to go into 2020. So this could potentially move very quickly. Of course, in an election year, that's not necessarily something that you want to have to deal with. So Democrats are probably going to try to move quickly here. Pelosi was slow to start this because she wanted to have a tight case. She wanted to make sure they had all the facts. And as she said earlier today, they have the facts and now they're ready.
Hey, Jess, and when you think about overall this process that has been going on, do you feel as though Trump, he has broken promises in the past? So he has said that he will release the transcript. Is there a chance that he suddenly decides on a whim that he's not going to release them?
I mean, there's always that chance. And there have been some administration officials who have advised the president not to do this, saying that it could set a bad precedent releasing this call. But the president on Twitter says that he's going to. And as we know, this president does what he wants to do. So we'll see if he actually goes through with it. He says he's going to. He thinks he has nothing to hide here. At least that's what he's telling reporters. But I think the really key issue is that whistleblower complaint.
Yep.
If they are going to let Congress see that complaint, because we don't know if this transcript is edited or if aides have put it together, if it really includes the whole conversation. There's a lot we aren't going to know from that transcript itself. You have to remember who is releasing that transcript. So that's why I think the Congress wants to see that complaint and hear from the whistleblower.
Just earlier today, the president had tweeted that basically nothing's getting done because of this, that gun safety, lowering of prescription drug prices, infrastructure. Is everything in D.C. and in Congress going to be put on hold for this, or does work also continue on other issues, let's say, like gun safety?
Yeah. That's the really big question here, and it kind of remains to be seen at this point. You'll remember during Infrastructure Week a while back, I mean, this was months ago, the president said that he wasn't going to work with Democratic lawmakers until they stopped their investigations. So you have to wonder if he's going to have this same reaction this time around. And we know that Pelosi and President Trump spoke this morning. Pelosi said that he called her to talk about gun legislation. So you have to wonder, I've seen some speculation out there that the president was trying to kind of convince Pelosi to work on guns, maybe ignore the impeachment issue for now. I mean, again, that's speculation, but you have to wonder with the president giving her a call all of a sudden this morning to talk about gun legislation. And I think, I mean, this is going to consume Washington. I don't think there's any way it doesn't. So that makes it very difficult to get things like the new NAFTA. That's something that they're really trying to get done before the end of the year. And I just don't see how that's going to move forward with this in the background.
Yeah, and that trade agreement with Japan already falling apart earlier today.
Right.
As we're talking, a couple more tweets from the president here. He is quite literally tweeting through it. Pelosi, Nadler, Schiff, and of course, Maxine Waters. Can you believe this? And then Trump following up. They never even saw the transcript of the call, a total witch hunt. So I suppose, maybe we don't need to read too much into this. He is kind of firing from the cuff here. Which isn't a change for the president. But you sort of wonder, Jess, that final tweet, Is he going to say, you know what, we're not releasing the transcript because...
I don't know.
Right?
You're
It's a
that
witch hunt
tweet
anyway.
makes it sound like it a little bit.
Yeah.
It definitely does, saying they never even saw the transcript of the call. You have to wonder. And when he talked to reporters earlier today at the UN, he said that you'll see the call, it'll be fine. There was no pressure. But then he did say, except there was pressure on the Joe Biden issue. So he has been conflicting his own story throughout this process. So it will be interesting to see if we do indeed get that transcript tomorrow, and if the president continues to tweet here. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens there. Who knows?
We are all watching. Jessica Smith in D.C., thank you so much. So, of course, we've all been watching Speaker Nancy Pelosi in Washington, D.C., coming out at 5 o'clock, saying that she has opened an official impeachment inquiry, talking about the president seriously violating the Constitution, calling out the time when he said that he can do whatever he wants under Article 2, specifically about his betrayal of the oath of office, national security, and the integrity of our elections.
One more tweet.
Another one?
Presidential harassment. All caps.
That's a Saturday morning special.
Yep.
Coming on.
It's probably not going to stop.
Guys, doesn't this inject just even more uncertainty? Like, what does this mean for all of the trade negotiations going on? What does this mean for legislation throughout the rest of the year? I know you mentioned that this might be a case of Clinton 2.0. But what does this mean for the markets? I mean, where are we going to open up tomorrow morning, right? I think this is just another injection, another dose of uncertainty for the markets.
Yep.
And volatility was certainly in play again today after a pretty steady trading range. And people are paying attention to this in the markets for sure. There you go, looking where we closed for the day here. What a day.
Do you guys also recall President Trump in August of last year saying that the stock market will crash if he gets impeached?
Whoa. Premonition.